and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm STALindaMcNamee, and as you saw from our introduction, we are going to talk about culture before communism, specifically the Chinese culture, which I actually don't really know anything about, so I'm going to be learning a lot tonight, and I hope you do too. But before we begin, I would like to invite you to email me with a suggestion for a future topic, or just to say hi, or whatever you'd like to do at talk@bcattv.org. As always, I want to thank my crew for this evening. Chris Flaherty, who's one of the staff members here, making sure that everything's set up, everything's working, and all of us volunteers know exactly what we need to do. And speaking of volunteers, we also have Lucian Gates and Gwyneth McNamee, who have given up their Wednesday evening to come to BCAT and hopefully also learn about Chinese culture. So, and last but definitely not least, as always, I want to thank my husband Paul for staying home for Daddy Date Night. Although now he's not necessarily babysitting, he's playing with the cats, which is still a good thing, still necessary. Okay, housekeeping is done. I would like to introduce my wonderful guests, Jennifer Zhang-McKenna. Jennifer, Jen, any preference?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, okay. Welcome.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you for giving up your Wednesday evening to come and talk to me.
My pleasure.
And you are the outreach director for the Winchester School of Chinese Culture.
That's right.
And even though Winchester's only like 1 or 2 towns away, I had no idea you were there.
We've been there for 20 years.
I know! I've been here for 20 years. So thank you for coming and thank you for enlightening me. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about your story and hearing about the story of China.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big place.
Yeah.
But before we actually get into some of the questions and some of the topics about the school and about your approach to teaching and learning and tradition and keeping the traditions alive, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I came to America in 1990. That's 35 years ago.
No, we're not counting. Wow, okay.
That's right after Tiananmen Square massacre.
I remember that in the news.
So my father was a visiting professor at MIT, and he called me actually before the
Was he
thing
here
happened.
and you were still in China?
Yes, he was here. I was in China.
Okay.
So he kind of like, don't go to Beijing. Communism does not afraid to kill people. That's how they get their power. Stay and put. I was in Shanghai.
Oh, okay.
That's my hometown. So I didn't go. But then, sure enough, things happened. I was so disappointed, and I told my dad, I said, I want to leave. I want to come to America. Wow. I want freedom. I love America.
That's gotta be hard, leaving your home and leaving everything that you've known.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I came here for college.
Okay.
And after, my father settled me down. He finished his exchange program and he left, and then I stayed.
Well, I'm glad you stayed.
Yeah, finish his school. Get a job, get married, start a family. That's
the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So what did you study?
I studied architecture engineering.
Wow.
I was an engineer for 8 years. And then I kind of didn't like to go to the field anymore, do surveys, climbing mountains and all that, especially when you have a little kid, you want to get home on time.
Yes, exactly.
So I went back to get my MBA so I can have an office job.
Perfect. Now, when you came here, did you learn English at all in China, or when you came here it was like?
My English was very limited. I remember the first day of class, I can only understand one word the professor said.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So I have to spend extra time to read.
Because it's not just a different language, it's a different, all the characters and everything.
Yeah, and the engineering, in China we measure by centimeters and meters, and
everything's
here
metric.
It's inches and feet. I was like, oh God, you have to switch it quite quickly.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
And I remember back when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, they were teaching us metric, and they're like, we're going to convert to metric.
Yeah.
No.
We still wanted the traditional way. Right?
It's been a long time. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, that's really cool that you're here and that you stayed. So I'm very excited for you. So how did you get involved with what is now the Winchester School of Chinese Culture? I looked at your website. It sounded like it was just initially like an after-school program.
It was initially a weekend program.
Weekend, okay.
Yeah, so like the weekend Chinese heritage schools, it has like over 100-year history, right?
Okay.
Our oldest heritage school is in Chinatown.
That would make sense.
Right, over 100 years old. Our school is 20 years old. We started the school 20 years ago when my son, and a few my friends, their children about the age to go to learn Chinese.
Okay.
Right, because we wanted to continue the cultural heritage. But then we found out that the schools, the local schools, they all use curriculums from mainland China. It's not really suitable for overseas. For Chinese that's born here, right? And plus, the textbook has quite a bit of those communist propaganda we feel uncomfortable with.
Okay.
So we ended up establishing our own school.
Why not?
Right? And then we look for curriculums that's suitable for the children that are born here.
Okay.
We found a curriculum that it's written by a professor from Stanford, who is a Chinese. Right, so that program is very well, really well written.
Okay.
We're the first Chinese school that used the curriculum. Now every Chinese school in Massachusetts uses it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that something was available because it would have been hard for you to have to write your own curriculum as well.
Oh, I know. We can.
So, well, you had mentioned that, you started the school when your son was old enough to start learning Chinese. So it sounded like you waited for him to get school age, but was he bilingual when he first started learning how to talk?
No, my husband is a French Canadian, so we don't speak Chinese at home.
Okay.
But as a Chinese, right, and when my parents visit, my son cannot communicate with them.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of triggered me to.
You want to do something?
I wanted to do something, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and my friends, they send their kids to Chinese school.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I said I should start that too. So I sent my son to a different Chinese schools. I tried it out, right? Not only I don't like the curriculum, I also don't like that they teach Chinese in Chinese, right?
Oh, okay.
Right, but Chinese to my son is like a second language, like ESL, right?
Okay.
It's ECL, right? Well, whatever,
Yeah, English is a second language, so ESL. Okay.
Yeah, ESL, right? But Chinese is the second language to him.
Okay.
So when we established our own school, and I told my friends that we need to have a bilingual program. We need to teach Chinese as a second language as well.
Oh, okay. Because I was like looking at your website, and I'm like, what exactly does that mean? So you explained it. So thank you.
So that's like we call it bilingual program.
Okay. And how does that work? I mean, do you teach in English and then explain something, or?
Yes, so teachers, they have to use English.
Okay.
Right? Gradually to teach the Chinese, and then gradually, let the kids to speak, to write.
Okay.
Like how we learn Spanish at school. We don't just do an immersion, like no English spoken in
Now, I
class.
thought somewhere it said immersion.
Immersion is, we have two different programs.
So you do offer immersion.
Yes.
And then you also offer
the bilingual.
the bilingual.
Yeah.
Okay.
For kids that both parents speak Chinese, they speak Chinese at home, so they are fluent in Chinese. They can understand. So they started with reading and writing right away. And then our teacher don't speak any English in those classes.
Got it. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So there's two schools.
We have to fit different needs.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to serve the community with different requirements.
Okay. How do kids like learn how to write in the Chinese language? Because it's not like learning Spanish, it's the same alphabet. You just have different
There's
words.
no alphabet. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have to write the strokes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard.
And can little kids do that?
Oh yeah, they can do that. They can paint.
Okay. Because a long time ago, a friend of mine took Chinese as a second language, like in college or something, and she had a really hard time because the pronunciation and the diction was so close that one misspoken syllable could mean a totally different thing.
Absolutely. There's 4 tones.
Yeah,
You
the
get
tones, that's what you call
right,
them.
If you get the tones wrong, you're way off.
And she could not hear them. So how do you teach that?
You all just
Keep
by
going?
practice.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
by
right.
practice, by
So
hearing it, by practicing it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, my son still get it all wrong.
That's why. But is it still just a weekend school, or is it like weekend or after? Because all of a sudden I'm like looking at your website and you have everything. You have a day school. You have
exactly. So when we established the weekend school, right, we didn't anticipate to grow to this big. Right?
Yeah.
And
well, 20 years is a long time, but it seemed like you grew pretty quickly.
Yeah, but the words get out, right? So when parents come, they said, we're not just happy with once a week. We want an after-school program. Can you do after-school program, right? So like, okay, we wanted to learn every day. We're gonna send our kids to after-school anyway, so why don't you establish an after-school?
Wow.
We're like, okay. And so we start looking at places, right? So we opened up one, right? And then not big enough,
Wow.
It just.
I guess that's a good problem to have.
So we expanded to another school. And then we have parents from, say, other towns, from Belmont.
Okay.
And they are envy about Winchester has an Chinese after-school program. So they came to my house and said, can you establish one in the town of Belmont? And that's how we expanded to Belmont.
Oh, so you have like schools in all these different areas. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was like in Winchester, kids can come to the Winchester school,
but
you
the
have like
after-school program,
satellite. Wow.
You have to have the bus, right? The after-school program.
Okay.
They have the school bus has to bus them in, and the school bus don't cross town line, right? So we have to do it in Belmont, and later, expanded to Newton. Right?
How do you get the teachers for this?
Well, we look, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them are from our weekend program.
Okay.
So they started teaching after-school program as well. We try to keep our teachers. We don't want to lose them. They're great teachers.
Yeah, because you're going to need them because there's, wow.
And then last year we expanded our after-school program into Arlington.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And later it was the private school, the day school.
Okay, how did that come about?
Well, that's also by parents' request. They want a more academic. They're not happy with the current public schools academic level or content, or they said, can you do a private school? We're like, wow, that's a lot of commitment.
That is.
Yes. Well,
and you have to go through the state and get accredited.
Yes.
After school, there's a little more flexibility.
After school, you still need to get license from the Early Education Commission.
Oh, okay.
But for the private school, you need to get approved from the local school committee.
Oh.
Yeah. So
that does not sound fun.
We started. We started talking about that idea during pandemic. It was the summer of 2021, right? Everything is online and all that. So we get approved in September. So in 2022, the school opened up, the building opened up, so we can enroll students. But we only have 2 students at that time. But we still open up. And now we have 23 kids.
Wow.
It's a good-sized private school.
Now, with that enrollment, is like everybody together, or do you still have like different grade levels? Okay.
We have 3 classrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a small
And
school.
what grades does it go through? Because it's just like elementary.
Elementary right now. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe later.
Well, no, I'm not trying to give you more work. I'm just trying to figure out how that adaptation is when they leave your school.
Parents are already concerned about when we leave Lotus Academy, where we're gonna go.
Right.
Are you going to do middle school? Like,
No.
Let me think about it.
No.
Maybe
Wow.
not yet. But this is all about giving to the community, helping the community, right? Service the community. I'm a volunteer at the school. We have 3 founders. Wow. We are volunteers. We started with our own children.
Okay.
But it's just kind of, our kids are in their 20s
Are your
now.
teachers getting paid?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Our teachers getting paid, but not us.
Wait a minute, not everybody's involved. Okay.
Yeah, not us, yeah.
Wow.
But we wanted to save the money and use it for the school. If we can pay our teachers, adequate salary,
right.
and we can pay the rent, pay the material, that's great. Maybe in the future we can save the money, we can buy a building. Who knows?
Yeah. So right now, Lotus Academy is just in Winchester?
Just in Winchester. Yeah, we rent a small cottage from St. Mary Church.
Okay.
It used to be their own private school, but they don't run the private school anymore, but they continue with their daycare program. So we rented their little cottage.
How convenient.
Yeah, convenience. Yeah, just suited for us. Perfect.
So what is the difference between Lotus Academy and Winchester School of Chinese Culture?
Winchester School of Chinese Culture is a weekend program.
Okay.
Right, and Lotus is like an affiliated private school with Winchester. We have the same founders, same management.
Are they like under the same umbrella of 501c3 or whatever? If it's
they have their own tax ID.
Okay.
But we run them. Right. Yeah, it's 2 different schools, but they all
got it.
from us. We found them all. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, the after school program also has different tax ID, right? But that's our different programs.
Okay. But reading your website, it seemed like parental involvement in whichever program their children were enrolled, parental involvement is
a must.
Huge.
Yep, because it's a community school.
How do you get people to buy into that?
When they enroll their children, especially the weekend program, not too much about after school program or
Well, the whole after school program is because the parents are working.
Away, we're working, right? But weekend school, right? It's a community school. You have to volunteer. We hold you accountable.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So every parent, when they enroll their children, they have to commit it to 2 volunteer times a year for per children.
That's not bad.
Not bad, right? Consider we do that every day.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, it's only 2.
Yeah, so they can sign up their volunteer items on our registration system. I can do bakery sale. I can watch the traffic. I can help the teacher manage the classroom. I can do this. I can do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how big is your weekend program?
Our weekend school is the biggest program. We have 700 kids now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking, 50, 700.
We occupy the entire school building.
Wow.
Yeah, but 700, that's including online program. We can't fit 700 kids into one building.
No. What ages does that span as well?
3-year-old preschool all the way to 10th grade.
Wow, that's really cool.
And they graduate with getting the AP Chinese done.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't even know there was an AP Chinese thing.
There's AP Chinese. They take that test, then they'll graduate.
Wow. Yeah. And do they then get college credit because it's an AP?
They do. They do get college credit.
That is cool. Okay, so going back to the Chinese language, for those of us who are not educated in Chinese culture yet, there's Cantonese and Mandarin.
Yep.
My understanding.
Yep. There's two language, two dialect. The writing is the same.
Oh,
just
okay.
the speaking is different.
So, which is the preferred approach?
Mandarin is the official Chinese spoken language.
Okay.
Mandarin is actually from the word Manchurian.
Oh,
Manchurian.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
See, Manchurian is the last dynasty, imperial dynasty of Chinese history. So they are an ethnic minority. They ruled China for 300 years before China became a republic.
Okay.
Right? So Mandarin is the last official spoken language. So therefore, it continued.
Okay.
Still, it's Mandarin speaking language in China. But Cantonese is an ancient official spoken language.
Okay.
It's an ancient, but of course, they speaking by the people mostly in Hong Kong, Canton, right? And when Chinese first started to immigrate to the United States in the 19th centuries as a railroad builders.
Oh, okay.
Right? And all of them are from Canton. So therefore, Cantonese is become the official spoken language in the United States
for Chinese
immigrants, right?
Wow. Okay.
Until
but wait.
In the 60s, right? A lot of people from Taiwan started to immigrate here, and in the 80s and 90s, a lot of immigrants from mainland China, like me, coming to immigrate. So we bring Mandarin speaking over here. So now Cantonese and Mandarin, they both taught in the Chinese community. Like the school in Chinatown, the Chinese Heritage School in Chinatown, they teach Cantonese.
Okay.
But we teach Mandarin because that's what we speak.
Well, that makes sense. Okay.
But writing is the same.
That I didn't know.
Yeah,
actually, I didn't know any of that, so that's really cool. So we talked about like teaching the language, reading, writing, speaking.
Yeah.
How do you bring all of the cultural perspectives into, like the arts, the music, even the history? Because, okay, I don't really know, so I'm just kind of making up what I've heard, but it's like when communism took over China, it kind of pushed all that culture away. So how do you bring that back? How do people know about it?
You teach culture, history, arts. It's all incorporated into the language, right? Through the storytelling, through the content. It's part of it. Instead of just ni hao, hello, how are you? As they learn, they're gonna learn more, and then we're gonna incorporate all those into the material, right? Like the story of Mulan. Even Disney had 2 movies on that, right? And there's a lot of culture in there. Ancient wisdom, right? It's about like a self-sacrifice, being loyal to your country, and how to also be dutiful to your family.
Your family,
right?
yeah.
So it's all these ancient values. So by watching the movie, that can bring culture, right? Reading a story, it's all incorporated together. Go watch a show, right?
That's right. You guys also, so part of, I think, kind of what introduced me to you was the performance, and I already forgot the name of it.
Shenyun performance.
Okay, I'm going to let you pronounce that because I don't have the articulation. But that is like a historical.
Yes, Shenyun, you will see the 5,000 years of culture in a 2-hour show from Shenyun. Shenyun has a tagline said that China before communism.
Yeah.
Right? So that's important because traditional culture has suffered so much in China under communism.
Okay.
Right? And to the point of almost destroyed. And Shenyun's mission is to revive that culture, bring that essence back. and share with the world, right? Through performing arts, music and dance.
But only 5,000 years? No. I'm just like, wow. But with all the different dynasties, how much change from this dynasty to this dynasty to this?
So much.
How?
Yeah, 5,000 years, right? And China is the oldest civilization in the world that continued. It didn't interrupt, didn't stop, right? But the ancient Rome ended, ancient Greek ended, right? Ancient Egypt ended, right? But not China. Chinese culture continued. The land was conquered by Mongolian, by Manchurian, right? In history, but they just enrich the Chinese culture, just add to it. So
because a lot of times when a power takes over, it wants to erase everything else. So it's just really impressive and amazing that that culture still remains.
Well, that culture remains throughout history, even though the land was conquered, right? Because these are normal, invasions and all that, right? So they just added to, say Manchurian, they add their culture to Chinese culture, right? They continue, but except for communism. Communism is a cultural wrecking ball. They erased everything. Right. So, when the communism took over China, they eradicate China's, the belief system. And then during the 60s and 70s in the Cultural Revolution, they pretty much destroyed China's cultural heritage. The paintings, my family, to give you an example, my father has a collection of stamps that's passing down through his father, through his grandfather. These are like some really, really ancient stamps, like the first stamps ever issued in the Qing Dynasty, the dragon stamps, right? But it was destroyed in the Cultural Revolution by the Red Guards, Mao's Red Guards. I had never seen them. They were gone before I was born, right? So temples, being like burned, right? And statues, Buddha statue being pulled down and all that destroyed. Millions and millions of artifacts are being destroyed. So we lost all that. So communism afraid of a traditional value, traditional culture, and a spirituality. Their culture is based on hate. Based on destroy the divines. Right. So they can indoctrinate people with their Marxism, with their ideology. Right. So traditional culture really pose a threat to them. Right. Especially, the spirituality in the traditional culture.
Right.
They see them as their enemy.
Right.
Right. So it's wiped. But in China, you can still go to China. You might see a familiar, similar show with even traditional costume, but the essence are gone. So it's just an empty shell.
Wow.
Right? So that's what made the shaming so different, and so special, is they are bringing that essence back. There is a ancient saying in the book of I Ching, also called the Book of Change, that's written 2,500 years ago.
Wow.
All right. So there's an ancient wisdom.
And change is still happening.
Yeah. It says that the invisible and the intangible things are the Tao, the true way. But the tangible things and the visible things is only the container. I don't know if you get that, what that means.
No, I get that. So it's like, what you can see, it's concrete, but there's so much more behind that.
Yes, like we have a human body, right?
Right.
That's something that you can see, you can feel, tangible.
Right.
But what's intangible is our soul, our spirit.
Our spirit, yeah.
Right, and that's the most important thing.
And that's what current Chinese mentality is trying to crush that soul.
So right. So any culture, right, it has also two parts. The tangible parts that it's kept in the books, in the paintings, in the gardens, the buildings.
But you need to have that connection, that meaning
the
behind
meaning
it.
behind it, right? So it's the intangible, the spirituality in
Yeah.
there, right? And China was once called Shenzhou, meaning the land of divine. Ever since the beginning of Chinese culture, Chinese people believe that this principle of man and the universe is one body.
Okay.
Man needs to live in harmony with the universe,
Okay.
right? And the universe has 5 elements, right? The fires, the water,
Earth, air, fire, water, and
wind, 5 elements,
okay.
right? And say in Chinese music has 5 tones that correspond with the 5 elements. In human body, we have 5 important organs. We have the liver, the kidney, the heart, and that's also
Hopefully the brain's one of them. Some people it's doubtful,
Right.
but okay.
So that also corresponds with the 5 elements. So you can see that Chinese medicine is all into that kind of a spirituality. Man and the universe having this one body, we need to live in harmony with that. So this essence is just destroyed, right?
How do you keep that alive, though?
You have to bring it back. You have to rediscover it, like a Chinese cultural renaissance, a Chinese cultural rebirth.
Let's have a
right?
cultural renaissance. I love it.
Yeah. So when I see Shen Yun, okay, I feel like I discovered a China that I never knew, right? I found a Chinese school. I thought I know everything about Chinese culture, right? I should be, until I saw Shen Yun.
Wow.
Yeah. Then I feel like I don't know much, because even though I live in the States for so long, I went to college here, but I still grow up in China, right? I am indoctrinated by the communist culture,
Okay.
right? So I lost that connection too. And when I saw the show, I was like, wow, this is so wonderful. I discovered something I never knew.
Wow.
Yes, it just changed my mind. It makes me so proud of my culture.
Cool. All right, I gotta flip ahead because I'm like, I want to talk more about the culture.
Yeah.
And I'm forgetting what I wanted to talk about the culture about. So when communism took over, that was like the end of World War II-ish, you said?
Yeah, 1949.
49.
Yep.
And how long did it take to really erase that rich past? Did the government just come in and say, okay, we're done? Or was it, how do you silence the people?
Oh, how do you silence the people? Oh my God.
I know I didn't ask that there, but that's kind of what I'm like, because, you had mentioned that, you left right during the Tiananmen Square.
That's kind of a wake-up call for me.
That is a wake-up call. And it's like, I remember seeing the footage on television that this one student is standing up
in front of the tank.
To the military.
Yeah.
And
courage.
How do you find that courage?
Well.
Just like, all right, fine. You don't have to answer that. But,
Well, I would have to say that traditional Chinese culture promotes courage, right? There's
I have
so
seen
much,
Mulan.
Right, you see Mulan,
was
right?
Was Mulan like sort of accurate, or was it really Disney-fied?
It has an accurate vision. I'm not sure if the Disney version is accurate.
Okay.
Disney version has the elements of finding yourself, but Mulan is really about self-sacrificing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about courage.
Okay.
Yeah, just like a man went to war for her father, because her father was too old to fight, right? Taking care of your family, and also being loyal to your country.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was that whole honor. But okay,
right.
So,
but communism is not traditional Chinese culture.
No.
It is from the West, right? It's from Germany.
Yeah.
Marxism is from Germany, right? And it enslaved Chinese people since 1949.
Wow.
Right? It took over China by violence, right? So CCP, how did it took over, right? They deceived people with their lies, right? They claim that in their society, right, everybody is free and equal, right? And the government will give you everything. And the utopian society, right?
Yeah.
People work. I remember I was taught this in school in China.
Okay.
People work according to their ability and receive according to their needs. Think about it. According to their needs, you don't have to work for.
Yeah.
Isn't that, this kind of society just doesn't exist. But that sounds so appealing, right? And my
Right.
grandfather was a supporter of communism, right? You know, he didn't know better. He just loved the idea of everybody is equal.
Right.
Right? He's a small businessman. He owns a soy sauce shop.
Oh,
Right? He sold his homemade, rice vinegar, soy sauce.
cool. Okay.
It's a typical small business, right?
Yeah.
So when the Communist Party first, took control of China, they didn't go drastic right away. But then, when they control it, when they finally get the control a few years later, then they crack down, right?
Okay.
And when the crackdown happened, the police just came to my grandfather's shop and took the business away from him. Because according to the law, the new law, right, all private properties are illegal.
Wow.
So they just confiscated his business. They were nice enough to give him a job in his own shop.
Oh, well, that's so kind.
But
Wow.
he was only making a fraction of what he made as an owner. He could barely feed his family of 6 children.
Wow.
My mother was the oldest. That was his wake-up call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you...
But it was too late,
Exactly. It's like, how do you get out of that because of all the deception? You've just dug yourself so deep into a hole.
Yeah, he loved the idea, but then, he realized the equal means everybody is equally devastated.
It's
You know.
not how the commercial worked. So,
No.
okay.
And then, how long would it take, right? And
Yeah.
it continues today,
Wow.
right? So, well, after the Cultural Revolution, China was pretty much, its society, economic is collapsed, totally collapsed. So they lied again. They have to lie to the world. So they make the West think that they're going through some reform, an open and reform era, right? The CCP leader, Deng Xiaoping, came to United States,
Okay.
right? And opened the door, right? We thought that American people thought that it's a great way to transition China into a free society
And
by, giving them money, giving them opportunity, allow them to join WTO. But we found out that they are our biggest threat, right? We finally find out.
okay.
Right?
So with this government control, how were you able to transition out of that? Why were you, you were able to leave?
Yes.
Were there any government permissions to allow you to come over to go to school?
At that time, I was not a student leader. Some of the student leader was arrested and sent to prison.
Oh, wow.
I was
okay.
just a regular,
Just a
regular,
kid.
yeah, person,
Okay.
right? And so I applied for school here, and I got accepted, and I went to the U.S. Embassy, get a visa,
Okay.
and that's how I came
Oh, okay.
on a F2, F1 visa,
Okay.
student visa.
Could you, or would you, or do you have any desire to go back?
I
To China.
am on the blacklist now.
Okay.
I don't think I can go back now because I speak
Yeah,
openly
okay.
against communism,
Okay.
right? Yeah. So I don't think I can go back. I don't want to try.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It must be, I'm just trying to envision leaving your home. That just blows my mind how you had the courage to do that.
I love freedom. I would have to say that. Freedom is more
But
than...
you never experienced it growing up, did you?
No, but there is a period of time in China when they first opened up, in the 80s.
Okay.
It was, I will say relatively open.
Okay.
Right? We had the idea of freedom and democracy coming to China, which leads to the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Okay.
Okay, so in the 80s, I get a lot of these ideas, right? I listen to Voice of America,
Okay.
right? And it just blew my mind away that what America, they can criticize government, right? They
like,
can
what?
say that I'm a taxpayer, you work for me. It was like, wow.
Wow, what a concept.
Yeah, and President Reagan came to Shanghai, came to the university that my father was a professor there.
Oh, okay.
So what he said really opened my mind.
Okay, and you're like,
Right?
yep, okay,
Yeah.
there is more to life than what I'm experiencing.
Yes.
Wow.
Love that. Love America. Always wanted to go. And then finally I grow up, I was in college, and then, this massacre happened. No, that's time to go.
Yeah.
No hope anymore. That's
Wow.
what I told myself. Yeah.
Wow, that is like amazing. So how would someone here learn more about the culture? About traditional Chinese culture? Can people not of Chinese ancestry participate in the school?
Oh, absolutely. We have kids come with no Chinese background. A few years ago, there was a kid just wanted to learn Chinese, and his parents we don't know what's going on. A white kid, right?
That's like, I don't know.
So he kind of he came to our school when he was 8. Continued, and then he graduated. He can speak fluent Chinese.
Wow.
During the graduation ceremony, he wrote a speech. He spoke in Chinese. Right?
Wild.
And then after that, he said, I have to speak English again, because my parents sitting down there
My
don't
parents
understand.
don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah. And he was so interested in Chinese, and he even continued his college study at Harvard. He got accepted by Harvard.
Cool.
Continue his Chinese language study at Harvard.
Passed the Chinese AP exam. I mean, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
So
cool.
we have quite a few of these children that no parents speak Chinese, or even a Chinese descent. Came here, wanted to learn Chinese.
But if the parents, so it's not really uncommon for the parents to not speak Chinese, because you were mentioning before about the Chinese as a second language.
Yes.
Okay.
You can come learn. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We have program for those.
Well, I started telling you right before we started recording, because I have a friend who came over from China, much younger than when you did, didn't speak a word of English, and he was fully immersed in English when he was like 10, 11 years old. When, he's our age, so when he finally, he has kids, and when the kids were growing up, as soon as they were able to start speaking or learning language, they were learning English and Chinese, because their grandmother didn't speak any English.
Yeah.
But then their mom's side of the family did not speak any Chinese. And it just blew my mind that they were able at such a young age to learn the two totally different languages.
Yes.
Totally different alphabets, totally different
You gotta start
tones.
young. You gotta start young. Yeah.
But not only could they understand, but they were able to separate and determine what words and phrases were part of this
Completely
language.
bilingual.
And and then okay, this person I have to use this part of my brain, and this person I have to use. It just fascinated me.
Yeah. We have a lot of students in our school are like that, completely bilingual.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that your kids, yeah,
I have 2 boys.
okay,
They're in their 20s.
they are, or they went through this school, which is why, you know, kind of the reason why you established it. How is their Chinese speaking abilities now?
Not good.
Well, you know, you use it or lose it. So
yeah, we don't speak Chinese at home because you know my husband don't speak Chinese. So so their only opportunity to speak is at the Chinese school.
Okay.
Which is not, you know, once a week, right?
Yeah.
By the time I established the after-school program, they're already in the middle school.
Okay.
They don't want to go anymore. Because after-school program is for elementary school kids.
Well, plus it's mom.
Yeah, it's mom,
Don't want to
right?
go hang out with mom.
I dragged them to the after-school program a few times, but I gave up.
Yeah. Okay. What am I forgetting?
But, you know, they can listen to Chinese. They understand my Chinese.
Okay.
Right. I speak to them in Chinese.
Okay.
Right. So.
And you haven't lost the ability. You still speak frequently enough.
Frequently enough, right?
Okay.
Because of the school.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah. Because of the community. If I don't have that community, right? In my workplace, we don't have Chinese. In my family, right? My husband don't speak Chinese. I probably will lose it too.
Oh, but yeah, if you ever wanted to plan something without your husband knowing. That's, you know, like when the kids are really little, you spell things because they don't know how to spell yet. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. What type of, I want to talk about, you know, outreach.
Yep.
And, you know, you have all of these amazing programs available for different communities, you know, the after. How do you tell people that all of this is available?
It's all on our website.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you got to get World Wide Web for a reason. How do you get people to notice that, you know, within the community? You know, you mentioned that you have a bake sale.
We have the basic.
A bakery bake sale, something.
Oh, yeah. Chinese bakery sale. It's on the Sunday program.
Okay, but is it just for those enrolled? Do you invite the community in?
They can come in if they know, but it's mostly, you know, for the convenience of the parents that in the school.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a bakery sale every Sunday. During their school time, they can come to the table and buy some bakeries or lunch boxes, bento boxes.
Is it always like traditional Chinese food, or is it like just like anything?
Traditional. Some Japanese too.
Okay.
You know, like ramen.
Okay.
Like eel rice, you know, curry chicken.
Sushi.
Sushi. Yeah.
I'm afraid of sushi. I'm so afraid of sushi.
We don't sell raw fish here.
Okay. Well, not all that's raw, but
yeah. Our website is very primitive because it's also designed by a volunteer parent.
Okay.
But you know, we can constantly updating it. You know, putting programs on. You know, it's very accurate. I maintain it.
Okay. Because I was looking at it, going, "Wow, you are like expanding all over the place. That was incredible."
So you can find weekend program, after school program, summer program, vacation week program.
Okay, what do you do
private
differently?
Schools.
Okay, you know, we talked about the weekend program, we talked about the after-school program, we talked about Lotus Academy. What do you do differently in the summer? Is it the same kids? Do you open?
We open to the public.
Okay.
Everybody can come. You know, but just we don't do a lot of advertising because you know we are just volunteers, right? But the program fell out so quickly.
Cool.
It's already fell up.
Wow.
For summer camp, right?
Okay. But what do you do like during the summer camp? Is it still focused on
Chinese
speaking?
Well, homework, right? So in the morning they have homework, but in the afternoon they have all kinds of activities. You know, they have cooking, they have sports, they have carnivals, arts, all kinds of things. But in the morning, you know, they have
more
language
academic?
program, you know,
Okay.
they have culture program, you know, storytelling, circle time, all these things. And every Friday we go a field trip.
Where do you go?
Everywhere. you know.
What's your
sometimes,
favorite field trip?
Water park, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we go far. Yeah, we also go to farms to pick those what's this, blueberry,
Oh,
picking
okay.
strawberry, you know. Yes.
That is so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, knowing what you know now, here it is 20, 21 years later, how would you have done anything differently if you were to start brand new now?
I wouldn't done anything different. No, because we don't have a plan when we started.
Okay.
Right? We just wanted to have a program for our children to learn and also benefiting the community.
Okay.
Whoever wants to join us, right? We can
Okay.
put our time and effort into running a school, right? It's all volunteer work, right? I have a
Okay.
full-time job myself, right? And it just kind of grow this way, right? And more parents, word of mouth, coming in, they want an after-school program. I'd say, okay, let's do it, right? They want a summer camp. We go, okay, let's do that, right?
All right.
They want an after-school program in other towns. Okay, let's do that. They want a private school. Okay, let's do that. So it's all about serving the community, what
Okay.
they wanted. It's not what I want. It's not about me,
Okay.
right? But when I serve, absolutely, I want to give them the best. I want to give them the traditional culture,
Okay.
which is real Chinese culture, not the CCP culture, right? The communist culture. So, and then when I found out Shen Yun, I was like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. You know, we need to see the show.
Okay.
So I've promoted the show to the school,
Okay.
right? And I organized trips. I started promoting the show to other organizations, to the senior centers. You know,
Wow. Now, is it always? When I was looking at the web, or when I was watching the promotional videos, it seemed like it was based in New York City.
Shen Yun is made in America. It's a New York-based company. It's not made in China. It's not from China. The Shen Yun, you can't show a program like Shen Yun in China. Shen Yun is banned in China, right?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because the CCP sees Shen Yun and the reviving of this divine culture as a threat to their power, right? Not only they ban Shen Yun from China, they also harassing Shen Yun performers' family member that's still in China.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, and they also extended their repressions from China to the United States too. They tried to do everything to stop Shen Yun, right? Wow. Yeah, like sending thugs to slash Shen Yun's tour bus tire, right? Sending bomb threats to theaters.
Wow.
Like just a couple of months ago, when Shen Yun was performing in Washington, D.C. in the Kennedy Center,
Okay.
the theater received a bomb threat.
Wow.
So they have to evacuate and stop the show, right? And of course, it's a fake. It's just a scare tactic.
Yeah.
That's a threat, right?
But are there performances in the Boston area all the time?
Once a year.
Once a year,
They come,
okay.
yeah, it's a season show, right? So from December to May, during Shen Yun's touring season, there's 8 different groups, 8 equally large groups with the accompanying orchestra. They tour the world simultaneously.
Wow.
Yes, North America, you know, United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Europe, right? So in Boston, they just finished their show last weekend at the Wang Theater.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, you can still catch it next month in May. They're gonna perform at Providence PPAC, Performing Arts Center, Providence, on Mother's Day weekend, May 10th and 11th. You can still catch it.
And that's totally separate from your school.
It's totally separate from us. Yeah, we just love the show. I want to promote it.
Yeah,
I want
it
to
must
tell people.
inspire you, because it's like you were saying that you are doing all of this volunteer work for the community. People are asking you. That is that speaks volumes to me. It's like, I want people to understand. And you're willing to sacrifice your free time to make sure this happens.
Americans need to understand the real Chinese culture, because I think it's a general consent now in America, right? People and the government, they see China as their biggest and long-term threat.
Right.
Not only to America, but to the world too. I agree, right? But I would say that, Chinese people or Chinese culture is different. It's not the same as
Right.
the communist
Okay.
regime, right? The government, the CCP, does not represent China and Chinese people. So we wanted to tell people that, America needs to distinguish that. Chinese culture, traditional Chinese culture is so profound with 5,000 years of history, right? And it can bring so much, contribute so much to the world, especially in this time of conflict and tension, right?
Oh, yeah.
We do need to understand what is the real Chinese culture, right? But CCP is also infiltrating America
Right.
with their culture exchange program. They want the American to see their version of Chinese culture, their side of the story,
But
right?
we're talking only, 70 years, where you're talking 5,000 years.
5,000 years.
And the whole, harmonious, universe.
Right.
And that, I think, is what we need to remember. We need to learn more about. We need to acknowledge
Yeah.
that we're not in this alone. It's a bigger picture.
Right.
And how can we remind people of this? And how can we, words are escaping me.
Yeah.
Any final comments? Anything that we haven't touched upon? How would you like, because we only have about a minute left.
Oh, go Xisheng. It's gonna inspire you. It's gonna bring you joy and happiness. It's just gonna make you so comfortable. And we really need some therapy to our soul right now.
Yes, we do.
Right. So if you don't want to do homework to learn Chinese, go Xisheng, sit and relax for 2 hours, and that is your
No test.
your best lesson of Chinese culture, the real traditional Chinese culture.
Wow, with all the different costumes and music.
Color, yeah.
Now, okay, one more thing. At your school, can people learn some of the traditional Chinese instruments and the tonalities, the five?
We don't offer music yet. we did before, but we don't have enough enrollment, so we had to cancel.
Yes.
Yeah, but after
Okay.
the pandemic, we're still going back to all these enrichment classes.
Okay.
We try to, satisfy the parents with their Chinese
Okay.
learning first, right? And then later
The
on,
academic first, and
academic,
then
and then enrichment. We also short of space. We don't have enough
now.
classrooms. We need to find a bigger space, right?
Well, we are out of time. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for filling me in on everything, on world culture, the Chinese culture, the language, everything. I'm so excited. I've learned something. So
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. And I
Thank
hope
you
you
for
have
having me.
some time for yourself
Yes,
and not spending the entire time at the school
That's
or
right.
at work.
thank you. I do enjoy the school.
And I also want to thank everyone at home for tuning in. I hope that you are inspired to actually look at our past and remember the quality, the traditions, the spirituality, the everything. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I will see you around town. Good night.